All right, everyone. So today we're going to be doing a deep dive into creating a parenting plan,
Yes.
which is something that I think a lot of people who listen to this show are probably thinking about,
hmm
maybe going through it right now or thinking about doing it in the future,
Right.
how to actually write a good parenting plan, because it can feel really overwhelming,
It is.
but it's so important and you can make things so much smoother.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to kind of boil down to 5 key things
Okay.
that you should be thinking about as you start this process.
Sounds good.
So let's jump right in.
Okay.
Okay, so first up, let's think about your family's daily routine. Like when we talk about creating a parenting plan,
Okay.
we're not talking about starting from scratch and inventing a whole new life.
Right.
We're talking about taking what already exists and finding a way to make it work
Right.
for 2 separate households.
Mm.
So think about your typical day with your kids, who does what,
Yeah, like who does the morning routine?
yeah, who gets the kids ready for school in the morning?
Yeah.
Who does drop-offs, who does pickups, who makes dinner,
Mm.
who does bedtime, all those things.
Right.
So you're not totally changing everything for the kids, which can be really destabilizing.
Yeah, and confusing for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a really good starting point. It's just looking at, okay,
Yeah.
what does our life look like now? How do we continue those things as much as possible?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first thing. And then the second thing, which is obviously so important in any relationship,
Yes.
but especially a co-parenting relationship, is communication.
Communication is key.
And what's really interesting about that is how much detail you put into the parenting plan itself can really depend on how well you communicate.
That's a really good point.
So if you and your co-parent can talk things through and make decisions together, maybe you don't need every single thing to be written down and super specific.
Right. You can have a more flexible schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like that.
But if communication's a challenge,
Yeah.
if you're the kind of co-parents who every time you have to talk about something,
It's an argument.
it turns into a fight, then
Yeah, you want to have those guidelines.
you need to have things more specific.
Yeah, really spelled out.
Yeah, exactly. We need to write it down.
Exactly.
So it's already decided.
Yeah, and it's taking that emotional aspect out of it, because if you're already disagreeing about it,
Yes.
then having to hash it out every week is just
Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare.
right.
So that's another really important thing to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the co-parent relationship. But then, of course, the most important people in all of this are
children.
the kids.
The kids, yes.
And every kid is different, right? Their needs,
Their personalities.
their personalities are going to really impact what this parenting plan looks like.
Absolutely.
I have friends who have, one kid who thrives on routine,
Mm-hmm.
bedtimes at 8 p.m. every night, no exceptions.
Yes.
And then there are other kids totally go in the flow.
Right.
So, that's going to really impact how you create the schedule.
What are their activities?
Yeah.
What do they need? Do they have school? Do they have, soccer practice?
Doctor's appointments,
Doctor's appointments? All of that has to be
speech therapy,
factored in.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's really about thinking, okay, who is this child and what are their specific needs?
Yes.
Because that's going to make this plan successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's you're tailoring the plan to the child.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so that's the kids. And then kind of related to that is the actual scheduling,
Yes.
which I think a lot of people, when they're starting to think about a parenting plan, it's easy to get caught up in
The ideal
the ideal version,
schedule.
but you have to be realistic
You have to be so realistic.
about what you can actually handle.
Yeah.
So think about your work schedule,
Yeah, what are your work hours?
your commute,
Yeah, how long is your commute?
any other commitments that you have. Because if you create this perfect schedule, but then it turns out that one parent has to work nights,
Right.
and the other parent has these early morning meetings and you've got them doing all the morning drop-offs,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Right, it's just not going to be sustainable.
And then everyone's stressed.
Right, and it's just going to create more tension.
Exactly. And then the kids pick up on that.
Oh, absolutely.
And it just makes things harder.
Yeah.
So it's really being honest about, okay,
Mhm.
what can we actually do? And
Yeah.
thinking about travel time between houses and
And backup plans.
backup plans. Yes. What happens if,
What if somebody gets sick?
or you're stuck at work,
What if you have to work late?
or there's traffic, all that stuff
Exactly.
needs to be kind of factored in
Yeah, you want to think through all of those things.
to create a schedule that actually works.
That's the goal.
Okay. And then the last thing, which I think is so important and I think sometimes gets overlooked,
Yeah.
is the fact that kids grow up.
Yes, they do.
And things change.
Constantly.
Right. So what worked when they were little
Yeah.
might not work when they're teenagers with their own
lives
and their own opinions.
Yeah.
So how do you build flexibility into the plan?
Well, and I think that's what's kind of cool about a parenting plan.
Okay.
Is that it's not set in stone. It's a living document.
Okay, I like that.
You can revisit it.
Okay.
You can change it as things in your life change.
Okay.
As the kids' needs change.
Got it. So it's like, it's not this like one and done thing. It's like,
right.
Okay, let's look at this again.
Yeah. Or like if somebody changes jobs.
Or if the kids' needs change.
If somebody has to move. Like all of those things, you can go back and revisit it.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better.
Good.
Because it feels less like you're like, okay, I'm writing this thing in stone.
Yes.
And it's going to be like this forever.
Right.
It's like, okay, this is where we are now, and we can adjust
exactly
as things change.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of like a lot to think about.
It is.
But if we kind of just like boil it down to those 5 things,
Yeah.
thinking about your daily routine, making sure you're communicating really clearly,
Yeah.
Looking at what your kids' specific needs and personality are,
Yes.
making a realistic schedule,
Absolutely.
and then being willing to be flexible.
And be flexible. Yeah.
I think those are kind of like the key ingredients
I agree.
to a successful parenting plan.
Yes, and remember that it's a tool to help you be the best parents you can be.
Yeah.
Even when things are challenging.
Exactly. It's not meant to be like a punishment or like
Yes.
a rigid thing. It's like, this is here to help us all
It's support.
be the best parents we can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, even with the best plan,
Right.
things are going to come up.
Life happens.
Right? Life happens.
You can't predict everything.
So that goes back to that communication piece.
Absolutely.
Like being able to talk to your co-parent
Yes.
and be like, okay, this is happening. How do we
handle this?
handle this?
Yeah. You're a team
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Awesome. Well, this has been super helpful.
Good. I'm glad.
I feel like I have like a much better grasp on like, okay, if I'm ever in this situation, these are the things I need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening, you've got this.
Yes, you do.
We're here to support you, and good luck with your parenting plan.
Good luck.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye, Ellie.